Take it. Hi guys, it's your host once again, Chukwuedo from Afrovision TV, and today I have another very interesting topic to actually talk about. You already know the drill. It's for targeted for Africans in diaspora. I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with words like this. Um, Bro, you are my last hope. I swear to God, I've tried every other thing. I've called everybody. Everybody disappointed me. You are my last option right now. If you disappoint me, it means that I'm not gonna do it. It means that I'm gonna drop out of school. It means that I will not be able to buy that car. It means that I'll not be able to get that laptop. Stuff like this. I'm sure if you're in the diaspora, you're very conversant with such kind of messages, whether it's from friends, whether it's from family, whether it's in form of text messages, whether it's in form of calls. Okay, so let's run it back. I just want to let you know today that you are not anybody's savior. It's really important for us as diasporans for us to learn the habit of saying no, especially when you know that this request, if you actually fulfill it, it's going to be to your financial detriment. Okay, so the point here is this. I am not against helping friends, I'm not against helping families and stuff like that. But what I am against is for people in the diaspora to play God. I think this is the right sentence to actually use. We need to stop playing God as people in the diaspora. We need to understand that, hey, sometimes it is okay to be selfish and prioritize yourself because that is actually the only way you can get that financial stability that you're looking for, and then you're able to help other people. Because even when you're flying in situations of emergency, even if it's not an emergency and they're giving you like the safety drills, they'll tell you in the case that there is any emergency on the plane or wherever, you need to first of all wear your oxygen mask, and then you can now try to help other people. So it means that if you do not have the oxygen mask yourself, you're most likely to lose your life. And then even the people that you are actually placing above yourself, you will not be there to actually help them. So my point today is that we need to stop playing God. We need to understand that even if we're not here anymore, even if you don't give that help, even if you don't send that money, people are going to sort themselves out. I think this is like the most important thing. I just thought it very important to share this with us as diasporas, because sometimes we get too soaked up in the blackmail that we feel like, hey, if I don't come through for this person, they might never be able to do this thing. They might never be able to achieve this. I want to break the news to you. I went to Nigeria in May, and of course things are absolutely difficult in Nigeria. There is no doubt about that. Prices of things have skyrocketed. There is inflation and things like that. Like, life is actually difficult. But what I'm saying is this: I'm not talking about people who are, in quotes, assholes. Like, who are just extremely selfish. I'm talking about you who is in the diaspora. You're trying to live decently. You're trying to do something, of integrity. You're working hard. You wake up in the morning. You catch the bus. You are grinding 9 to 5. Perhaps you have 2 or 3 jobs, multiple shifts. You are the person that I'm talking to. You know deep down that you cherish your friends and your families, and you want to help them as much as you can. But again, you know deep down what your financial limits are. So I'm telling you today that you do not need to overstretch yourself just because you want to, be on the good side or in the good books of most folks back home. What I'm saying is this: if you have pressing issues, you have pressing needs in the diaspora, it is okay to say no sometimes. Because I think the biggest problem here is that most of the times we just feel like, oh, if we say one no, oh, the person is going to feel really bad. Oh, they are going to think negatively of us. Oh, can you imagine? I asked this person for just 200-300 pounds, or for 500 euros, or for $500, and imagine they told me that they actually don't have. Can you imagine such? And they're actually in the diaspora. Now my brother na big boy, you, and they tell you $500 not be anything for am. So as you see that my sister Lanson, she be nurse, She get money. Oh, I don't know why she just stingy. If you're Nigerian, you must have heard this kind of complaints. You must have heard this kind of things from friends, from families, from loved ones, from relations, from acquaintances. I am here to tell you today, don't play God. It's okay for you to say no sometimes. It's okay for you to try to get for you to get yourself together. It's okay for you to say, hey, I am trying to get 20,000 euros, $20,000, £20,000 in savings in order for me to make this investment. And now, if I make this investment in 5 years, I'm going to expect X amount of money. And once I have waited that 5 years, I must have attained the financial stability that I need to actually help people without having, to do that at my detriment. It is absolutely okay. This is just what I just want to let you guys know today, because I think too many times we prioritize the needs of other people over ours, and we know how we live in the diaspora. It's not a bed of roses. We know. I'm not talking about the very minute percentage of black people who perhaps are extremely comfortable. Or, for example, if you're in the UK, I live in London, I live in Kent. I'm not talking about these people. I'm talking about you who is a 9 to 5er, who is not necessarily, part of that minute percentage of people who earn really, really high. I'm not talking about you who earns, 6 figures, 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about you who perhaps you don't have any support from anywhere. Maybe you were self-sponsored as a student in the diaspora. You, through thick and thin, through all the struggles, you were able to graduate, and eventually you got a job. Or you could be Nigerian, you could be Ghanaian, you could be South African. You always have these demands from back home. I am not saying do not help your friends, do not help your families. I am saying when you know that it is actually going to cost you a great deal of inconvenience, to the extent that you might not be able to solve some issues that you need to solve for yourself, it is okay to say no. And it is also okay to not worry about what they are going to say, what names they are going to call you, what kind of tags they are going to give to you. Because at the end of the day, it's not going to matter. Because you know that you only need to default your rent payments for 1 month and you are going to be off on the streets. You know that if you don't pay your light bill, your water bill, and things like this, you are going to have a very, very hard time in the diaspora. Because of course, for example, where I am here in Portugal, if you don't pay those bills, these things are going to accumulate. You could get fined by the tax office, because of course the owner of the house, is actually going to report this information. So we live in a very fast-paced society where there are no excuses, no bullshitting. Like, you basically cannot, plead with anybody to say, oh, I'm so sorry, I'm short on rent, oh, I'm sorry, I lost my job. Can you give me 2 or 3 months? But you know how these things are back home in Africa. You could plead, oh, can I get like a 6 month extension and things like that. We don't enjoy such luxuries here. I've seen so many people who have lived in the diaspora for so many years. I'm telling you, you have no idea, testimonies of people who were doing relatively well, like good jobs, but guess what? They kept shelling money back home. They kept shelling money back home. People who just couldn't say no to their friends, to their families, to their relatives. They couldn't say no. They kept doing this, and then guess what? Something happens. Oh, for some reason, they get arrested, and of course, when they are done doing their time, now these people are deported back to their home country. Now they are back to zero, because even the so-called people who they have actually been helping become very hostile to them, because now you have gone back to the motherland and you are now a liability to these people, because you're no longer vomiting the forex like you used to vomit it. So too many examples. It could be the person was involved in an accident, became incapacitated, so yes, he or she had to go back home, and then now you have to rely on your friends, on your families that you have been very, very generous to, and then guess what? They switch on you. I'm not saying this applies to everybody, but my point here is this: please understand that you need to stop playing God. I've seen people, I'm telling you, friends, quite close, they received that call from the motherland. Oh, bro, my birthday is tomorrow. Oh, I'm thinking to celebrate it with my friends. I'm looking around the budget of $200 or €200, and the next thing you hear is that, Oh boy, you don't need to worry. I'm gonna send the money. I'm like, but bro, 200 euros is a lot of money, man. So what we are transmitting to the people back home is, oh, don't worry, this is not so much of a big deal. 200 dollars, 200 euros. You don't have to worry. Now, small thing, especially for those from Nigeria. We always want to show like, oh, it's nothing. But we know that that money, if we take it out of our savings, is going to cost us a lot of inconvenience. I can tell you, if you're in the diaspora, you know what I'm talking about. There are people here who have been in the diaspora, whether it's UK, US, Canada, or anywhere around Europe. They've been here for 10 years and they cannot boast of 5,000 euros or 5,000 pounds or $5,000 in their bank account. I promise you that. If you've been in the system long enough, you will know what I'm talking about. They've been here for 5, 10 years. They cannot boast of 5,000 in savings, like personal cash. Because even their mobile phones that they have, probably bought on credit with maybe 3 or 4 instrumental payments. Same thing for those who are actually driving cars. Same thing, if you want to buy, let's say, furniture, you want to buy a computer and things like this. It's a largely credit system. You buy now, you pay later. So you can imagine if I am here in Europe and then I'm buying on credit where I have to pay for 6 months, 7 months, and then somebody is in Africa asking me that, oh, they want to buy an iPhone 15, for example, and this guy wants to go and pay cash at once and is expecting me, who has bought the stuff on credit, to actually shell out that money to him. And guess what? There are people in the diaspora who actually do that. And these are the people who basically paints we, the diasporans, in a very bad light. How? Because we are not actually communicating the reality of our situation to those back home, because we are too afraid to say, well, if you don't send that money, they're going to think, oh, they might actually think less of me, they might think I'm broke and stuff like that. Who cares what they think? Because as a matter of fact, you are better off faking it that you're poor while you have a very, very good amount in your savings, as opposed to faking it that you're rich and then throwing everything around like, oh, it's not a problem. You're basically playing God. And this is what I've just come here today to tell you. It is okay to stop playing God. As somebody in the diaspora, it is okay for you to have a plan that is going to push you towards the path of financial stability. Because it is way, way easier to help people when you know you're financially stable. So imagine if I have gathered 20,000 and then I made an investment that gives me an average of, let's say, 1,500 on a monthly basis. Let's just imagine that. I can comfortably give people 200 euros, 150 euros, 100 euros here and there, because I know that the profit that I get from the investment that I've made is going to be coming like on a regular basis. And even if I take from it, it's not going to cost me so much financial discomfort. I'm actually saying this because there are too many examples of people who have had their fingers burnt. Why? Because at some point they felt like, oh, I'm God, I'm the savior. I have to come through for Mr. A. I have to come through for Mrs. Y. But guess what? Sometimes the things that they tell you from back home, from the motherland, are not necessarily true. What I mean by that is, oh, bro, I'm sick. I need to buy this computer. It's for my work. Sometimes these people just need money to actually go and live extravagantly. I'm telling you, sometimes they need money to go to club. They want to, have like a house party and things like that. Then they come with all those kind of very, very emotional stories. You know what I'm talking about as diasporans. We have had this kind of requests, whether it's from friends, whether it's from family. So even in your family, it is important you set that boundary so that they understand that, look, you cannot put your expectations too high to the extent that you believe that I must do this for you. Especially if you're somebody who has no other person to run to. What I mean is, everybody looks up to you. You do not have anybody that you can actually call on when you are in a financial distress. So I am just here today to tell you that, hey, it's okay for us as the aspirants to prioritize ourselves. It's okay for us to say no sometimes. It's actually important for us to say no in order for us to be able to say yes tomorrow. As opposed to saying yes today and then you have to say no for the rest of your life because you actually do not have. So this is the message that I just thought it necessary to drop by and then just give you guys this very, very important information. As you know, please subscribe very, very interesting topics to follow in the next couple of days. And I'm hoping that you guys subscribe to the channel, because of course it's going to help us reach more people. And most importantly, thank you so much for your support, and I'll see you on the very, very next one.